Welcome to Cottles Island Lumber, and welcome to Notre Dame Bay. I'm Robin Philpott, the fourth generation of my family to be here at Cottles since 1969. Cottles Island Lumber has an illustrious past that will prove useful for the future. We manufactured and shipped panel homes to Japan and Chile in the 90s, created the first and only indigenous-owned commercial wood pellet plant in our province, and we have grown employment opportunities in rural Newfoundland while other private enterprises have faltered. We have proven ourselves capable of creating affordable housing and reducing carbon emissions through our sustainably sourced and renewable energy products. Today, we are honored to be hosting such esteemed guests as Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and the members of Parliament. The next speaker has devoted endless time and energy to the development of tourism, outfitting, and economic development, not only on the West Coast, but across the entire province. Her accomplishments and credentials are not wrote on mere paper. They are etched in the sides of towering mountains, across lively, jumping rivers, and in our tranquil forests. Her work has elevated the status of Newfoundland and Labrador in the eyes of hunters, fishermen, and travelers the world over. There is a saying used in our province, West Coast, best coast. And yes, from the fjords to the tablelands, the West is charming. However, Notre Dame Bay has plenty to say. Our sparkling ocean is adorned with over 300 islands that contain a myriad of wildlife from eagles to humpback whales. The glaciers that cut the mighty fjords still travel thousands of miles each year to revisit the shores of New World Island, Twillingate, and Fogo. Comparable? I think so. I can think of no better place anywhere in this world to introduce our dear friend from the West Coast, the Minister for Rural Economic Development, MP for the Long Range Mountains, Gudie Hutchings.
Oh, wow. Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Wow, Robin, I've been privileged to watch you grow up from a little boy, and the young man you've turned into was just truly amazing. Friends, it is great to be here in Notre Dame Bay because Newfoundland is the best. I'll change that phrase today, not the best coast and the west coast. Newfoundland is the best. Wonderful always to be here with my colleague Seamus O'Regan, Joanne Thompson. Want to give a shout out to Derek Bennett, the MHA for this area. And of course, the man that we're so pleased to bring and showcase, who has such a passion for Newfoundland and Labrador, our Prime Minister, your Prime Minister, the Right Honourable Justin Trudeau. You know, friends, we all know across the country, especially in small magical communities, family is so key. You know, when you talk about the environment and the economics, they go hand in hand. But the other third part of that pillar is community. And in communities, you have incredible families. And that's what we're proud to showcase today to the PM, the Philpott family, who's been here forever. So just want to say thank you so much for coming. Thanks to all the workers for what you do. Thanks for, more importantly, for what you're going to do. Because with all this young man has on his plates, you guys are going to be busy forever. Now over to my dear friend, Seamus O'Regan, the Minister of Seniors and Labor.
And seniors.
And seniors.
Yeah. Which is why I'll say hi to you guys first, because first of all, you got to remember that we're in the biggest labor shortage that the country's ever experienced. So thank you. Thank you for being here. I'm not going to speak for very long, mainly because the Prime Minister hates it when I give a long introduction. So I won't, other than to say that I think yesterday's cabinet shuffle and our last budget as well really focused on affordability. And affordability is something that we have been talking about in this province for, I would say, 12 years. It's dominated our politics. It's dominated our economics. We used to call it rate mitigation. $5.2 billion. They said it couldn't be done. We did it. $5.2 billion. And whenever we have asked this Prime Minister for something that we felt that this province needed or deserved, he has come through every time. I have said to him both privately and publicly that I know that in his heart he really is a Newfoundlander, because he is as saucy as anybody I've ever met. Ladies and gentlemen, your Prime Minister, the Right Honourable Justin Trudeau.
And I know all the words. Thank you, Seamus, for that. Thank you, Gudie, for extraordinary, you know, grounded introduction on why Newfoundland matters so much. Thank you to the Philpott family, 3 generations here today on a 4th-generation institution here, where the connection to the land and the growing of the economy and the strengthening of community has always been at the center of everything you've done. And it's just great to be able to be welcomed by you today. And thank you for all that you've done. But also, as Seamus said, thank you to all of you. You are the backbones of communities. You are the people who put food on the table for families and an entire community. You are the folks who are keeping our economy running. And without you and around you, we need to build the future that we're all looking for. Because let's be honest, times are tough right now. We've seen, even with inflation coming down to the lowest level of any country in the G7, prices are still high, particularly on food and groceries, particularly for families who've been struggling. And that's why we've been stepping up as a government. Seamus talked about the $5 billion that we've sent to Newfoundland to make sure that rate mitigation is taken care of. But we've needed to do so much more to support people. And I'll be honest, the challenge is such that government spending could contribute to inflation. And that's certainly something we've heard screaming about from the opposition over the past months, telling us we shouldn't be supporting families at this point because it'll drive up inflation. We shouldn't be spending money on dental care for low-income kids because that'll drive up inflation. We shouldn't be supporting low-income workers because it's worsening our federal bank balance. The fact of the matter is Canada has the best fiscal position of any country in the G7, the vast majority of our peers, and we're driving down inflation faster than other countries around the world, even as we're stepping up and doing the things that Pierre Poilievre doesn't want us to be doing, like sending out a grocery rebate that landed in people's pockets in the beginning of July. A family of 4 got about $467 out of that. And that's 11 million Canadians who've benefited from that grocery rebate. We weren't finished this month. We then delivered an increase to the Canada Child Benefit. Now, that's a program we brought in 2016 over the objections of the Conservatives who didn't want us to be supporting people this way. That's lifted over 500,000 kids out of poverty across the country, put hundreds of dollars a month in the pockets of hardworking families for the cost of raising their kids. That's direct, tangible support that has made a real impact on people, and those are the kinds of investments in families that are at risk if the kind of austerity approach that the Conservatives continue to push end up landing. We know as well, from watching the news and experiencing it ourselves, the climate change is having an increasingly real impact, destabilizing communities, destabilizing industries, and we know we have to take action. Last year I was in Port aux Basques after Hurricane Fiona, saw the devastation that caused. This year, forest fires and floods across the country, particularly in Nova Scotia, causing significant devastation, and we know it's getting worse every year. Think of how bad it might be 10 years from now, 20 years from now, if we don't act now. So we've stepped up in the fight against climate change, but we're doing it in a way that is focused on supporting people every single day. Newfoundlanders and Labradorians just received the first climate action incentive payment. 4 quarterly payments that go out for a total of $1,300 for a family of 4 over the course of the year. That's to help with the high cost of living. That's to help with the cost of fighting climate change. That's money in your pockets that the Conservatives have already said they're going to take away. We need to do 2 things at the same time. That is, step up for families and communities and help with the high costs of living as we're building a stronger future. And yes, that means fighting climate change, but that also means investing in the kinds of innovation and the kinds of solutions that communities, the country, and the world is going to be looking to in the coming decades. That's where Newfoundland and Labrador is so well positioned. It's a part of the country filled with resources but especially filled with resourcefulness. People who are innovating, hardworking, ready to attack the future with a positive, ambitious view. Let's roll up our sleeves and do it. The thing I'm here to talk about today actually answers a question I was posed way back in the 2015 election. We were talking about the Canada Child Benefit is going to be making a huge difference in people's lives. Money, hundreds of dollars a month, going to lift hundreds of thousands of kids out of poverty, give families a real great surprise, a great opportunity to grow. And a woman came up to me and she said, that's going to be great. My sister and her kids are going to be wonderful. But I don't have any kids. How are you going to help me? I'm in a low-income job, and I need extra help too, and I don't have any kids. So we created the Canada Workers Benefit. And just over the last year, we transformed that Canada Workers Benefit to being money that arrives at the end of the year at tax time, to money that gets paid out upfront 4 times a year in 4 installments, so you can have help paying your bills, paying your groceries, even as you work a hard job that doesn't pay as great as you'd like it to. We're talking about up to an extra over $1,500 a year for low-income single workers. And workers with families, you can get over to $2,600 a year. These are hundreds of dollars every few months in your pockets that are going to make a difference, that are going to help you as you build your career, as we move forward into a better and stronger future. These are the tangible, concrete ways that we're stepping up to support Canadians, even as we're building that stronger vision for a long-term future that creates great jobs and careers, opportunities for families, as we welcome in more immigrants and build more homes at the same time, as we're benefiting from the hard work and the vision of Canadians from coast to coast to coast, as we stay optimistic about the future. Alors, je suis très content d'être ici aujourd'hui pour souligner que l'allocation canadienne aux travailleurs va maintenant être livrée 4 fois par année, un total de plus que $1 500 pour une famille, pour une personne célibataire ou seule, et jusqu'à plus que $2,600 pour une famille avec un travailleur à faible revenu. C'est de l'aide directe et concrète pour les gens dans des moments difficiles, parce qu'on est en train d'investir, oui, pour aider les gens maintenant et pour bâtir un avenir plus fort dans les années à venir. This is the work we're doing, and this is the team with which I'm looking forward to doing it. We've strengthened our economic portfolios. We've focused on building the kind of economic support now and strong plan for the future that Canadians deserve. And it all starts right here in places like Newfoundland and Labrador, where people are building a better future for themselves and their kids every single day. And this government will always be a partner to them. Thank you very much for your welcome here today.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Merci, le Premier Ministre. We have 15 minutes for questions from media. Nous avons 15 minutes pour les questions des médias. Please approach the microphone with your questions. Veuillez approcher le microphone pour poser vos questions. Et we will start with Sarah Smelly from the Canadian Press.
Hi there. You've said that a minister's presence in your cabinet indicates your confidence in them. David Lametti is no longer in cabinet. Why did you lose confidence in him?
David Lametti has been an extraordinary team member and will continue to be a great member of the Liberal team for many years to come. He has led on important files around justice and reconciliation that was a significant positive transformation of the country that we're in, and is looking towards the future with a lot of optimism across the board. That's what Canada is, and that's why I've built a cabinet that is going to be positioned to grow and continue to build great opportunities for Canadians from coast to coast to coast.
Thank you. A U.S. Senator lambasted Canada yesterday for not living up to NATO and NORAD spending priorities. How do you respond to American accusations that you've been trying to water down Ottawa's commitments?
We've invested massively in NORAD modernization just earlier this year, and we're continuing to step up in our NATO commitments. When I was in Lithuania just a few weeks ago for the NATO summit, Canada was key in pushing for more support for Ukraine, a steadfast set of security guarantees. We were instrumental in making sure that Sweden has a path directly to joining NATO as quickly as possible. We continue to be there in Latvia as we elevate our presence there to a brigade size. We continue to engage around the world, even as we continue to procure the kinds of equipment that the Canadian Armed Forces are going to need to continue to do their work, whether it's 88 fighter jets, whether it's NORAD modernization, whether it's the Defense Innovation Accelerator for the North Atlantic in Halifax, whether it's the Center for Climate Security, the NATO Center for Climate Security in Montreal. We're going to continue to step up in this time of increased concerns around security everywhere around the world.
I'm sorry, are you able to answer in French as well?
Nous allons continuer d'investir pour s'assurer que les Forces armées canadiennes aient les outils nécessaires pour faire le travail auquel on s'attend. À l'OTAN, il y a 2 semaines, le Canada a démontré son engagement, sa présence, ses investissements, que ce soit dans des avions de chasse, que ce soit dans une présence en Lettonie où on augmente notre présence militaire. On a toujours démontré qu'avec NORAD et la défense de l'Amérique du Nord, on va être là pour continuer à investir. C'est ce à quoi les gens s'attendent.
Thank you. Next question.
Dan Arsenault, CBC. There are a lot of people in this province, particularly in the rural areas, that rely on the oil and gas industry for their livelihood, and they feel like their industry is under attack. How would you expect their votes when a lot of your policies could hurt their livelihood?
Well, first of all, climate change is a fact that nobody, except for conservative politicians, is debating anymore. The impact of the forest fires in Nova Scotia, the Hurricane Fiona that just caused devastation in Port aux Basques, record floods, record rainfalls. The impacts of climate change are here, and the world is taking notice. And that's why Europe is not just choosing to get off of Russian oil and gas, they're trying to accelerate the transition to alternative lower carbon solutions. And Canada can and will be a part of that. We've been there to be a partner for the oil and gas industry as we work to decarbonize, to reduce the carbon emissions associated with the oil and gas that the world's going to need for the coming years. We figure out how to rely more on renewables. Investments here at Cottles Island Lumber Company and the pellet pellet plant is a recognition of the fact that the world is changing, and people know that they want to change. Now, there are folks out there who still say, oh, no, you know what? These are just inventions by a government in Ottawa that are trying to come after your jobs. Well, those people aren't being honest with you. They're not preparing people across the country in energy sectors for not just the challenges of the future, but the incredible opportunities in the future. I was in Stephenville last year with the Chancellor of Germany, who's incredibly excited about Newfoundland know-how and ability to generate hydrogen from offshore wind. We've seen the Come By Chance biofuels refinery as it's moving forward. There are great jobs and great opportunities in a world that is changing. And the debate right now going on politically seems to be between those who are lying to workers and telling them that the world's not going to change and everything's going to stay the way it was, versus those of us in government who are saying, yes, the world is changing, but we are incredibly well positioned to benefit, to grow, to create and lead on that change because of the hard work of Canadians, the innovation, the commitment to building better futures for our kids and our grandkids. The choice Canadians are increasingly facing in politics is between responsible, ambitious, forward-thinking government that is preparing for the opportunities of the future and a party that is stoking anger and fear, throwing up its hands, saying everything is broken. I'll reflect the anxiety everyone's feeling into anger. Won't provide any solutions, but we'll all get mad as hell together. That's not how you build a country. That's not how Newfoundland became the extraordinary province that it is. That's not how these communities get built when you're talking about 4 generations of an extraordinary local business like Cuddles Island Lumber. People deserve a government and a political vision that reflects their own vision of an ambitious, better future for their kids and grandkids. That's what we're focused on. That's why we're working with communities, putting more money in families' pockets, even as we build a brighter future with great jobs for everyone.
You announced yesterday you're going to establish a new a National Security Council. Why do you need one now? How will it work, and who will be on it?
Over the past number of years, we have significantly invested in strengthening our ability to respond to national security concerns. We know there have been real challenges increasingly from foreign states who want to destabilize our democracies, from internal actors who are trying to sow chaos. We have needed to strengthen our capacity to do that. One of the big debates we had when we replaced the Conservative government of Stephen Harper was the need to put parliamentarians in charge of overseeing our national security agencies. Stephen Harper and Pierre Poilievre didn't want that. And yet we created a National Security Committee of Parliamentarians where parliamentarians from every party get to come together and see everything that our top national security agencies, all our national agencies, are doing. They have the security clearance to be able to make sure that everything is being done to protect Canadians, and everything is being done in according to the protections and the values of Canadians. That was a huge innovation we brought in a few years ago. We're now looking at building a further National Security Council that will have a role of overseeing and setting strategic direction for the new and real security challenges that countries like Canada are increasingly facing. It is an additional tool on top of the other ones we have that we're very excited about presenting to Canadians, but we're working right now. We'll be making an announcement in the coming weeks about how it's going to work.
And if you could answer in French too, please.
Okay. Il y a plusieurs années, on a créé une nouvelle institution au niveau de la sécurité nationale, c'est-à-dire le comité des parlementaires responsables de l'intelligence et de la sécurité. Et c'est un comité que les conservateurs, incluant Pierre Poilievre, ne voulaient absolument pas voir, malgré le fait que c'est de la transparence et de la redevabilité pour nos institutions de sécurité nationale. Alors maintenant, à cause de ça, les parlementaires de tous les différents partis peuvent veiller sur nos instances de sécurité avec toutes les informations secrètes et top secrets qu'ils peuvent avoir pour s'assurer qu'ils sont en train de faire la bonne chose et les bonnes choses pour nous protéger, mais qu'ils sont en train de les faire de la bonne façon. Maintenant, on continue nos innovations, on continue de renforcer notre capacité de répondre aux enjeux de sécurité en créant un Conseil de sécurité nationale qui va veiller sur les enjeux stratégiques pour s'assurer qu'on est en train de faire tout ce qui est nécessaire. Et j'ai bien hâte de faire des annonces dans les semaines à venir sur exactement comment ça va fonctionner.
Last question.
The latest data from Statistics Canada shows an increase in violent crime in Canada. How are you going to ask your new minister to tackle this, and do you have any possible solutions?
We've been working with provinces across the country on bail reform. We've been working on strengthening the ways of supporting Canadians, because it is not right that in far too many of our cities we're seeing an uptick in violent crime. And there's all sorts of different factors that go into that. The need for bail reform is one of them. The challenges on mental health that have come out of the pandemic and these difficult years. These are all things we have to respond to. But it's not just about stepping up on the security side, although that is important and we're doing that. It's also about creating greater opportunities for youth to be part of community organizations and have the kind of mentorship and guidance that keeps them out of a life of gangs and crime. It's about making sure that we're investing in safer communities in all sorts of different ways, with better mental health supports, better community and frontline workers. It's more work on harm reduction in terms of the opioids epidemic that's devastating far too many communities across the country. We're going to continue to take an evidence-based approach that is there, is present, working with municipalities and provinces to keep our communities safe, to keep Canadians safe, because that's one of the fundamental jobs any government has.
And if you could also answer in French too, please.
On voit qu'il y a une augmentation dans le crime violent dans bien de nos villes et c'est très préoccupant pour énormément de gens. Mais nous allons continuer d'être là, travailler avec les provinces, avec les municipalités pour aider. Et oui, ça veut dire plus d'investissement en sécurité, en force policière, mais ça veut aussi dire plus d'investissement dans les programmes communautaires pour aider les jeunes à rester impliqués et positifs. C'est des investissements dans la santé mentale, dans les travailleurs communautaires. C'est des investissements pour contrer l'épidémie des opioïdes, avec une approche ancrée dans la science pour garder les gens en sécurité. Nous sommes un gouvernement ancré dans les faits et dans la science, et les investissements pour aider à garder les gens en sécurité vont suivre dans ces lignées-là plutôt que de jouer à de la politique à ce niveau-là. Merci beaucoup tout le monde.
Thank you. That will conclude today's press conference. Merci. Ça va mettre fin à la pointe de presse.